Hello, my name is Steve Kern. I'm in the process of designing a Dungeons & Dragons Red Book Rules 1980, I call it the 1980 publication. I got this version in 1980. I missed Gen Con by 1 or 3 days. The original book got stolen, and this is a replacement, and so this is a 1981 printing. So this predates the BECMI, well, this is also a BECMI set, but what is referred to as a BECMI set is the one that came after this. The BECMI set revised this system. I only have basic and expert with this, with the 1980 edition. So, this campaign character level is going to go from 1 to level 9, and everybody maxes out at level 9. The halfling maxes out at level 9. I created a marshal for the halflings, and the marshal is basically like the sheriff does the cities, the marshal does multiple cities. So so that's how that works. The issue that I have with the campaign is I generated a lot of paperwork. So I needed to get a folder. I found one. It had the 1980s basic rules, Dungeon Master information, and then it has the expert rules Dungeon Master system, and then it has the BECMI basic rules Dungeon Master information, how to create a dungeon, and it has the BECMI expert rule. That was the expert. So this is, I need my site. There's my site. There it is. Okay, let's try this again. BECMI creating dungeons. The BECMI basic rules for creating dungeons. The BECMI expert rules for creating wilderness. And then you have the expert rules, the companion rules. And then there's the master rules also. Dominion is on the companion. And then so I think this is all companion rules. Then this is the master rules. And the immortal rules are not in here because the immortal rules, the players are gods, and they primarily inhabit the other planes of existences, dimensions, realms, spheres of power, stuff. So you're not dealing with the main game world. They do, as gods, they do have avatars. Players can create an avatar and enter the game world. They can create their own solar systems, galaxies, planets, and create their own worlds as they rise in power. But they also affect other game worlds, other players' worlds too, and the game master's game world, where the player characters originated from. So the Immortal rules kind of, when I looked at it, took me to La La Land, and so I said, okay, I'm out of here. BECMI, the BECMI Rules Box Set is an expanded version of the Basic Expert Rules. Now, the way this was originally organized was you had the 1980 Basic Rules, then the 1980 Dungeon creating a dungeon, which is that's what this is. What this section is about, creating a dungeon. And then you have the BECMI created dungeon. Then you have the 1980s created wilderness, designing wilderness. And then you have the BECMI wilderness, and then the master's section, master guide section concerning the campaigns and stuff, campaign rules, like agent and stuff. So, and what I did was I rearranged it so that it's just the basic expert rules here combined together. I am not, with this I can actually reference the BECMI rules for creating ventures and stuff. I don't know if I'm going to do that or not. That's not their plan. But what I did with, so after I separated out the 1980 stuff from the BECMI stuff, I put the Game Master material that I created for my campaign, solo campaign, solo adventure, into here. And then I segregated the paperwork, organized the paperwork. I got my hit dice monster list, which is the -1 basic monsters, -1 expert monsters, hit dice -1, hit dice under 1, hit dice under 1 for expert, basic expert, hit dice 1 for basic, hit dice 1 for expert, hit dice 1 plus for basic, hit dice 1 plus for expert, hit dice 2, hit dice 2 plus and higher monsters have not been generated for this particular campaign attempt. But back in 1984 and 1985, when I was in high school, I had this list completed. I think the monster list was basic and expert -1, basic and expert 1, basic expert 1 plus, and basic and expert 2, 2 plus, 3, 3 plus, all the way up to level 36. And there's like maybe 150 monsters altogether, and basic and expert together, combined. So it's then I have my, so I did the hit dice, then I'm categorize the monsters and basic and expert into life form types category, which is microbial. Basically, that's gelatinous cube, gray ooze, green slime, ochre jelly, shrieker, yellow mold, and black pudding. Then you have your freshwater monsters, giant crab, crocodiles, your fish, fresh swamp water termites, and freshwater termites. Giant yeah. They might be. Oh, so they're termites. Over here. Okay, yeah, they're water termites. Okay. They're not giant termites, they're just water termites. Okay. And then you have saltwater monsters. You got your sea snakes. You got a giant crab, dragon turtle. You got your fish. You got a sea hydra, giant octopus, sea dragon, sea serpent, sharks, squids. You got a termite. You got your whales. You got your worms and crawlers. Crawlers are your giant centipedes. Your carrion crawler, giant centipedes. Is Cassidia, giant leech, and a purple worm. Then you got your insectoids. That would be your insects, your spiders, your arachnids and stuff like that. So you have your beetles, got the locusts, you got ants, you got an insect swarm. You got a killer bee, robber fly, spiders, Rhagodessa, and you got a giant scorpion under that. Then you got your land reptiles. That's your lizards, your snakes, your basilisk, your hydras, the frost salamander. The fire salamander is an elemental. Therefore, it's listed as a magical creature. Then you got your dinosaurs, and you like your giant toads also. Land mammals, white ape, bears. We got the great cats, giant ferret, mules, owlbears, rats. Yeah, bats are flying green creatures. You got your rock bamboo, rust monster, giant shrew, wolves, antelope, black dog, camel, displacer beast, elephant, gorgon, hellhound, riding horses. Now, the gorgon and the hellhound are typically in the fire elemental planes, but they do not travel to the primary material plane on their own, so they're not listed as magical creatures. You got your horses, mastodons, you got a rhinoceros, unicorn, and a weasel. Then you got your winged monsters, that's your bats, your dragons, sturge, chimera, cockatrice, griffin, hawks, hippogriff, pegasus, pterodactyls, rocks, wyverns. Now, the way they describe the chimera, the cockatrice, Um, they list them as magical because if you look at it, if they look at you in the eyes, if you look at it in the eyes, you turn to stone. But that's a magical ability, so that's similar to a casting a magic spell. And anything that does spell casting is considered magical, is described as magical within these two books. So, but otherwise, they're just normal life forms. Hippogriffs. Same thing with the unicorn. Oh, the unicorn is not considered a magical creature. The horn has a magic, but to be magical, a magic user is a magical creature. And that's not. Magical creatures are things that the way I describe magical creatures is things that are created by magic. Your golems, your skeletons, your zombies, or creatures that inhabit other planes of existence, alternate planes. You have elemental planes. There are spheres of power within the immortal rules. The astral plane, within the AD&D, there's the astral plane. The master rules and the immortal rules do copy the AD&D inner planes, outer planes universe to a degree, but also goes further. Now, the first edition, Gary Gygax's first edition hard copy books, the the Wilderness Guide, what is it? The Elemental Planes. You have the Wilderness Guide, the Dungeoneer's Guide, and the Elemental Plane, or the Manual of the Planes. That's what it's called. Manual of the Planes. The Manual of the Planes is probably what I looked at a little bit. That is what the Immortal Rules is, I think, in that realm. It describes the realms. I think it describes the primary material planes, the elemental planes, which are also known as the inner planes, and the outer planes. And then you have the spheres of power. So that's what the Manual of the Planes describes in more detail. So this is the winged monsters. Then you got the humanoid monsters, bugbears, doppelgangers, dwarves, elves, halflings, gnolls, gnomes, goblins, kobolds, minotaurs, medusas, pixies, sprites, trogonites, centaurs, dryads, manticores, mermen. NPC parties are listed because non-player characters in this game would be fighters, magic users, thieves, clerics, elves, dwarves, halflings. So your NPC party, your humanoid NPC party would include dwarves, elves, and halflings, and no humans. So that's why it's NPC parties listed there. And then there's the expert version of NPC party, and then there's the basic version of the NPC party. Same thing with humans. The human NPC part does not have any dwarves, elves, or halflings in it, and the basic rules and the expert rules. Then you have your undead, which is your ghouls, skeletons, wights, zombies, mummies, spectres, vampires, wraiths. Then you have your magical creatures, your gargoyles, your living statues, god shadows. They're extra dimensional entities. Souls. They were created. Soul was created by magic. So it's basically similar to a golem, but a living creature. You got the Jinn or Jenny, Genie, Ifriti. You got your elementals, air, earth, fire, water, and the three forms: staff, device, conjured. You got your golems, and then your invisible stalker. It's magical because they are summoned. They inhabit they're not part of the prime material planes, but they can be summoned to the prime material planes. That's why they're magical. Same thing with these elementals and the jinns, and they can be summoned to the prime material plane. That's not their regular. The prime material plane is not their natural habitat. And so that's the listing there. And then I have the environmental systems. So I went through the basic rules and expert rules. I did the basic information on the normal bat, the environment that they live in, the associated creatures that are listed with the normal bat description, and then there's associated additional monsters that would which would be the nocturnal monsters, cave monsters. The natural habitats of the normal bats is they're nocturnal. They live in caves and they live in abandoned buildings. So additional monsters that's not in the description would include nocturnal monsters, monsters that live in caves, and monsters that live in abandoned buildings. And so we go in here, in the monster description, you have a general description that applies to both bats, the normal bat and the giant bat. And so what's in here, so this information is duplicated for the normal, is put into the normal bat, and this information put in the normal bat, and this information is put into the giant bat. And then the normal bat has additional information, and your giant bat has additional information. And so that's what I did here for the giant bat. Well, I didn't do the giant bat. I need to do the giant bat. And then I was looking at the giant bats, and I went straight to the vampire. And vampire's expert rules. So I just thought I went through the list here and did the same thing. The natural environments, the natural monsters that they interact. They summon monsters, so there's listed monsters there. They can shape change. So I did not do additional monster lists for them, for the vampire. So this is not actually complete. I may have to go through that and see what I can do there. Then, so now next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the giant bats. For that, that's the next agenda for this project. Then while I was making these lists, while I was making these monster lists, I really got distracted. I was finding myself really distracted as to what I was doing. So I went and did some dungeon mastery notes for myself. Okay, so this is what is the objective of this project? So a game campaign. It's a solo game, solo campaign project, or it could be a group campaign. It's primarily a solo game, but so it's going to be a solo campaign world, but it can be a group campaign world too. So it's called a group campaign parameters. So that's what that is. And then I said, okay, what is the game world itself going to be like? So this is about what the game campaign parameters is about. What is the project? And then this game world parameters, okay, what does this game world look like in terms of size, in terms of habitats, what game system rules are being applied to that. And so that's what this is. Dungeons and Dragons basic rules, well, Red Book rules, the 1980s edition basic rules, and expert rules. I did a calculation of how large it's going to be. And so it's really huge. Then this is some of the original, the Orc Army Chaotic Leader list. This is a revised paperwork. And then I did, while I was looking at the vampire, I did some vampire mechanics. I made a list of vampire mechanics. Rules mechanics that apply to the vampire. And then I came up with some campaign rumors concerning vampires. Let's take this out. So within my campaign world, this is a rumor. Local villagers misidentify a local vampire as being a werebat lycanthrope. There are no werebats lycanthropes. There's no werebats lycanthropes in this game system. And I am not generating a werebat creature. It's just a rumor. It's people misidentifying a vampire changing from a human to a bat as being a werebat. Like, were-tigers, were-bears, and stuff like that. And this is the original notes that I did when I started with the bats. So I made the list. I completed the monster list. Then I went to the bat section I went to the first level under 1 monsters because that's the I'm making the first adventure is going to be featuring monsters with under 1 hit dice. And the first monster that's listed is a normal bat. So I read the normal bat and say, okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to list nocturnal monsters. Normal bats are nocturnal, they're cave creatures, and they are abandoned building monsters. So I'm going to say nocturnal monsters. Then I was going to go back and do cave monsters. Then I was going to go back and do abandoned building monsters. And so, but I just did the nocturnal monsters, and I went through both of these books for nocturnal monsters, and I came up with this list. And then from there, I made a monster hit list. This is 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4, 4 of 4. So I went back and I looked at the monster. I went through these 2 books based on what was on the list here. And I listed the environments, the natural environments that you're in, and their monster associations. And then I went through and I made the list. And then I went back. After I did that, I looked at the list again. And I looked for additional monsters that were not picked up in the nocturnal monster list. And so I made this list. And then it's okay, wait a minute, this is getting out of control. So I reorganized everything. And this is basically obsolete information. But I'm keeping it because the format is still applicable, can be referenced for what I'm doing. The format is good. It will help me decide how to better organize the system. I've created a random encounter chart. There's a 3-in-1 chart. There we go. Example of how what a nocturnal monster random encounter would look like. There's a D6, there's a D8 table, and there's a D10 table. And you see that a couple of these guys are repeated. The normal rat orc is repeated. So they're basically this number 8 is normal rat / orc, which means 1 through 8 would be, there would be 2 lists basically. One list would be a normal rat, 1d8 random counter would be a normal rat, 1d8 random counter would be an orc. And then within a 10, if the d8 is a normal rat, the 9 would be an orc. If the 8 is an orc, then 9 would be a normal bat. And then you got the giant bat, which is a second time it's encountered. And so you got a normal bat, giant bat, and an orc that's encountered, that has 2 chances of encounters on a D10. Up here, that's how I did that. So that's what this, and this is basically a prototype random encounter chart concept. So I put it on here. So I'm keeping this. This is a reference for my future random dice roll random counter generation system. Look at this and see how I want to do things. So I'm keeping it. So this is obsolete, but it's there is reference for. It's not going to be used in my materials anymore. It's not a part of my campaign reference material. This is a Dungeon Master reference material for creating additional reference materials. This is reference material for creating reference materials for a Dungeon Master. So. So that's what that is. I'm still keeping that. Put it on my eyesight on so I can't see what's going on. It's all blurry. I can see the hole, but I can't see individual pages from the holes. There. I see the lines, but I have stigmatism, so it's double lined. The line is blurry, it's doubled, and then between the double lines there is a shading issue going on. White, there's a blue, there's some white blur, and there's a blue blur, and the white blurs together, and there's a lot of blue, a little white, a lot of white type. It phases in, phases out. So that's how my stigmatism works. That's what I see. Everything's double edged. And so between the two edges, there's a mixture of the color that's outside the edge and the object edge, and the gray shopping bag. Okay, behind that is a red shopping bag. There's So there's a double edge. The gray bag produces a double edge, and so you have the gray bag itself, you have the red bag itself, and then there's a zone where the gray and the red blend together. And same thing with the gray strap, the dark gray straps versus the light gray background. There's a double edge. So the gray strap, the gray strap has its definite gray. There's the light gray, and then there's a double edge. There's an area where the light gray and the dark gray meshes together, and it's all around that. And same thing with the black and the gray on that. And that's also that's a black and gray shopping bag underneath, and there's the black and gray. You got the gray strap, the black, and then you got the double edge where the black and gray blends together. Everything. So there's advantages to that, and there are disadvantages to that. The blurriness does help me find things sometimes. Sometimes it helps me find things. Sometimes because of it, I cannot find things. Having perfect vision, I am colorblind, and the red spectrum. So even when I wear my glasses, I have perfect vision with my glasses on. I can't see things, overlook something, where with my glasses off, I spot it right away. And then same thing with my glasses on. I can spot things real quickly, but there are some things that get hidden with sharp edges, and then the blurry edges pops things out, and then because of the blurriness, things blend together, so I can't see it, like my glasses. In certain conditions, I will not be able to see this at all, this grayness. The only reason I see my glasses, the primary reason I can find my glasses is the lenses. Light reflection. The glasses they pop out, and I can see the lenses here. So it's usually when I see these glasses, I see the lenses before I see the frames. So, but then in certain conditions like that, like here, yeah, obviously. But in other conditions, not so easy. And then I need flashlights. And then that doesn't work. I need my obsolete pairs of glasses to find these glasses. So my obsolete pairs of glasses is blurry, but the blurriness is not as bad as being without glasses. So the astigmatism is defeated with my old glasses, but everything's still out of focus, but I can still see things, and I do have fast eyes, so sometimes it's like, oh, okay, there it is. It could be half hidden, or it'd be caught in the corner of my eye. Okay, so whatever. I'm done.